Auth66, on the continuation of what we were starting yesterday. I might jump in and out of this a couple times throughout the rest of my auth journey, but today I wanted to talk about some more operational metrics. And these ones are service related. So there are many things internally in service that we track, stuff like backlog, which is like how many hours of currently open work do we have going on. But we also we look at the three metrics that are the most important in terms of understanding on the base level how we're doing or where things are at. Is our close ratio on tickets within the last 8 business hours, our current response time, and our customer satisfaction levels. And those three kind of work like a triangle to counterbalance each other. So if we look at the 8-hour closed ratio, like that is really focused on, are we doing things in a way that, supports what business needs? Like no one wants to have prolonged issues. So having a higher close ratio of tickets within that time frame is important. But closed doesn't necessarily mean done well. There's a lot of things that we track further on down that line, but that's where we would start. But anytime you have a metric, you have to have a counterbalance for that. So the customer satisfaction acts as a counterbalance to that. So sure, it was closed, but were they happy when it was closed? Did they like the service they got? Did they feel like the solution, met what they were looking for? Are they able to work? Did they enjoy the way that we provided that solution or service? So you have to measure the counterbalance to that, because it's really easy to just like do something and then close a ticket and then you would have the best numbers ever, right? But it doesn't mean that it would be factual. So you need to have that backed up. And it kind of holds people accountable to make sure that they're closing tickets with that in mind. And then the response rate is really about, are we doing it in the time frame that we set? So, the 8 hours kind of seems like it would be that, but sometimes things take longer and that's okay. But how are we communicated to the client when they reach out to us and let us know? Are we hitting, the SLA that we promise, or the communication level that we promise in terms of hearing back about what the status is? You can have a ticket open and it can be open for a longer period of time, but you really need to be updating the customer about what's going on. And again, these metrics aren't to say that because we're tracking them, we're perfect at them, but it does mean that it is something that we're paying attention to. And anything that you pay attention to is going to be something that improves, right? There's a saying that Brian says all the time about that. I can't remember what it is for right now. Those are his words anyway. But the point is that when you're tracking these things, you have to think about almost like reverse argument, right? So like if you were having we'll use the closed example. If you're having a high degree of closed tickets, do you just assume the positive that everything is good and everything is happening as it should? What if you assume the negative? Now, I don't mean you assume the negative of your staff or you need to go negative on it, but that's how you find the counterbalance. That's how you look at, where you might need to do a countermeasure. So what are reasons or ways that tickets could be closed quicker when they shouldn't have been? In this case, it would be people are just closing them to get them off the board, which makes the numbers look good. But that would result in upset customers. So that's how you balance it with the CSAT. We talk about a lot of these numbers in our marketing for that reason, so that people know that we're not just paying attention to that. We've actually had positions in the past where we were only paying attention to one of those numbers, and the end result, of kind of gamifying the whole situation ended up happening. So if we want our staff to take this seriously and to understand, what it is that clients need, we can't just be rewarding or measuring the one. You have to pay attention to all. And in doing so, it creates a kind of balance in and of itself, right? Either they will try a little bit in each area, or they'll try the best in all areas, whatever, depends their work ethic, right? But the point is that they'll understand that it isn't just one-sided. It has to be, those three things. And again, under those three things are many other metrics that we track, but those are the three major key ones that we track and report on to make sure that we're keeping an even keel on the service desk. Whatever metrics that you choose, it should align with, your values. For us, customers being happy, that seems like a no-brainer for any business. but specifically when we, put ourselves out there as very service and customer friendly. And I mean, I've heard of some of our competitors doing away with their entire help desks, and that's something that we refuse to do. And I don't think there's a world where B4 Networks will be an email only ticket system where you can only email to get a hold of someone. I think that might drive me mad if I was a client. I know it does for some of the partners that we deal with, or vendors that we've dealt with. So, for us, that paying attention to customer satisfaction is an important part of that service focused metric, right? But then profitability that we talked about yesterday means that processing tickets quickly is an important part too, right? So if that's not happening in the way that it should, it's also another indicator of things that might need to happen. If tickets are stagnating or taking longer, maybe it isn't because a tech isn't paying attention to it. Maybe it's because it's a skill set beyond them and there's training required. Or maybe it's a new technology that we haven't dealt with before. Again, training required. Or maybe it's, just one of those fluke anomalies, and that's something where we should be doing a root cause analysis on it to go, what could we have done better, and learn from it, right? Any data that you have should be something that you learn from. You should use it as your guide in business and life in general, really, to kind of make better decisions. Make sure it's good data, make sure, like I said, people aren't just gaming it, and that you can believe it. But data is highly important to being able to make proper decisions. Just focusing on the right things and knowing that what your gut says is actually based in reality. It's like that counterbalance itself, because in business, we think a lot of things, and we might look and observe and see something, and our gut will tell us this is what's happening, but the data will tell you if that's true or not. The data will tell you if your gut instinct is founded, and it's really good to have that counterbalance. I think that's basically the message of this video, is counterbalance in your data, counterbalance in your measurements or KPIs that you're tracking, whatever they may be, is highly important. So maybe for you have different ones that you track. Just make sure that you've got a counterbalance to it to make sure that you're not believing a fallacy that could be rooted in bad data, or somebody, kind of cheating the system, even though they're not trying to be so malicious about it. Anyway, there was a little bit of a ramble, but hopefully you find something useful there. See you tomorrow.